Hello friends, welcome to part 2 of our SPSS for Beginners series. In this part, what we are going to do is we are going to perform some basic analysis on a hypothetical dataset. So I have already punched in the data in the SPSS sheet. If you want to get a copy of this data to perform the analysis yourself, you can just drop us an email on admin@PyTutors and we will just send you the copy of the data. So we have entered in the data here. However, the data is not in a very interpretable format. We don't know what var1 is, what var2 is, what 1 represents under var1 and what 54, 81 and all that represents under var2. So what we are going to do first is we are going to add some information to this data set so that any person who has access to this file can at least understand what data is presented or what data is present in this SPSS file. Let us first understand the background from where we have extracted this data or what this data represents in a hypothetical scenario. So let us consider a school where we have identified a class and we want to compare the weights of the male and female students in that particular class. So as you can see that there are 50 data points. So there are 50 rows. One row represents the data for one student. So there are 50 students in that particular class. So we have 50 rows. Likewise, we are measuring two variables. One is the gender and second variable is the weight of the student. So in order to make this data less confusing, we will just add some more information to this file so that this data becomes more interpretable. What we do is we can go to this variable view. Here the first variable is labeled as var1. So instead we will call it as gender. The second variable var2 we are going to call it as weight. Now both these are numerical, so we will not change the type of the variable. The width of the variable is also okay and we need not change the width of the variable. Fourth attribute of the variable is decimal. What we can do is we can just have a look at this data set and we know all these values are natural numbers. There are no digits after the decimal point. So what we can do is we can just minimize these decimal values from 2 to 0 and you can just see now how the data looks like. Again, the label column, let us add some information about gender. So gender of the students of class say first year. So let us consider this as an example where we are studying the weights of students in a college. We are looking at first year students. Gender of students of first year. Similarly, this weight represents the weight of the students of first year. So as I discussed in my last video, under the label column, we can specify or we can use spaces, we can start with numbers, we can add any special characters. There is no constraint in terms of what can come under the label column. Next is the values. So in the last video, I talked about that we will discuss this later. So now let us discuss this property of the variable called value. So what happens is sometimes when you are working with ordinal data or say nominal data, you have used some coding to represent the underlying levels. Say for example, in this case, male students are coded as 1 and female students are coded as 2. So if we want to share this file with some other person, how will he get to know that 1 represents male students and 2 represents female students? So the best way for that is under the values column, you can specify that 1 represents male and 2 represents female. Click OK. Also, it is important to highlight here that the values property of the variable is more relevant in case of ordinal variable or a nominal variable. We'll generally will not specify any values attribute for a scale variable. Next is the missing values. So in our case, we just need to check if there are any missing values. So we see that there are no missing values here, or let us assume that there are no missing values here. Then we have the column width, we can leave it as it is, and then we have align, let us leave it as it is, and then measure. So gender has got two categories, male and female. So gender is an example of a nominal variable. So what I'll do is I'll change the measure property from scale to nominal. So now I have added some information to my dataset so that this becomes more interpretable. Now you can see that instead of 1 and 2s, we have got male and female. However, if you want to just revert back to that 1 and 2 notation, what you need to do is there is this icon called value labels. If you click on that, it will revert back to that 1 and 2 notation. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this video informative, like, comment, share and subscribe on our YouTube channel. If you have any specific questions, you can always contact us on our email ID admin@pytutors.com, or you can visit our website www.pytutors.com.